Can I take one of the worst teams in NCAA football '06 to the national championship? Well, we'll find out over the next year as I begin this dynasty with the Howard Bison. Now, Howard isn't exactly the most esteemed football program, even in the FCS, but they do have a little bit of history recently, as in 2017, they pulled off the biggest point spread upset in college football history, beating UNLV 43-40 after being 45.5-point underdogs. And just this past year, they won their first MEAC championship since 1993. So, Howard is definitely on the upswing when it comes to football. But in this game, they're one of the worst teams. But can I make them a powerhouse? We'll just have to see. We're going to take a look at the roster, and the first player we're going to look at is David Samuelson. And yes, I know Howard is an HBCU, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't have non-black players on the team. And plus, David Samuelson's light-skinned anyways. He has 95 speed, 76 agility, 76 acceleration. So he is relatively athletic, and he also has 80 carrying. Now, his only real defect is his throw power is a 70. His awareness is a 62 and his throw accuracy is an 85. Hopefully he'll be able to develop that over the next 4 years. But he's very undersized at 5'10 and 165, and he's a left-handed quarterback. So I don't know why you guys love giving me these left-handed quarterbacks whenever I allow you guys to make players and prospects. But I guess you guys just like torturing me pretty much. But either way, David Samuelson looks to be the quarterback of the future here in Howard. At running back, our main guy is going to be Kieran Mbatabe, and yes, he is based off Kwasi Mbatabe from the Blitz the League series. And yes, he is his son in storyline at least. Mbatabe is more of a power running back. He does have 90 speed and 85 agility, but his main strength is breaking tackles, and he does that with some speed, and he does it with his strength as well. He's very similar to his father in that regard. Now we go to his backup, and it's going to be redshirt junior Connor Johnson, who's more of a balanced runner, and he's actually more of a threat in the passing game than Kieran is, but he's definitely not as strong and not as good at breaking tackles either, so he'll be more of the change of pace back. And you also have redshirt senior Jake Mackey and Eric Carey, who's a true senior. At fullback, we have Daniel Campbell. He's not very good, as you can tell from that 40 strength. That's what we're dealing with at fullback this year. Our receiving core isn't very good either. Not a single receiver has higher than 68 speed or 68 agility. So this is going to be a rough season for Samuelson. You're going to see us running the football a ton, pretty much. But even then, you look at the tight end situation, they're not very good either. They're both 40 overalls. But it gets worse when you look at the offensive line. I mean, we have a 52 overall right tackle, 48 overall left tackle. This is going to be a long season. Brandon Fogel's our left guard at 52 overall. Griffin is a sophomore. He's a 48 overall. And our center, Blake Smith, is 48 overall and is a senior. This is going to be rough. It doesn't get much better on the defensive side. Our defensive ends are all 40 overall, which isn't very good, but our D tackles are really good. We have Adam Rutledge, who's a senior. He's an 85 overall, 94 strength, so he's definitely not going to get pancaked a whole lot. And he's pretty decent at tackling, too, at 85. That's actually pretty good. I'm kind of downplaying it. And his backup is going to be Dontel Donnelly. Well, he's going to be starting a lot as well. As you can see, his tackling's at a 90. He has pretty good speed for a defensive lineman as well. Just his agility isn't very good. At outside linebacker, we have Wilson Cage, who is a junior. He transferred from a JUCO, so he only has 2 years of eligibility left, but he has 90 tackling. His speed, awareness, agility, and acceleration aren't great, and he's terrible at catching and jumping, but he'll at least put a hit on somebody. And then the rest of the outside linebackers are really not much to talk about. Then a middle linebacker, we have Gerald Kunkel, who is a senior now. He's 76 overall, 6'5", 250 pounds. He's very strong, and his agility is pretty good, as is his awareness, but his acceleration and speed isn't very good, and his tackling could be a bit better. Behind him, we have junior Damon King, who's a 68 overall. He'll get some playing time this year, but obviously Kunkel is going to be the main guy at middle linebacker, but King's no slouch when it comes to tackling. Our only really good corner is Winston Coleman, who's a sophomore, 6'1", 195. His speed, agility are pretty good. Speed and agility, I should say. His acceleration, horrible. But his tackling's really good. But then the rest of the corners are just absolutely putrid. Hamby sucks, Scott sucks, Smith sucks, and White suck. All of them are just bad, pretty much. But we do have two really good free safeties. We have Danny Lewis, who is a senior. He's got 85 speed, 85 agility, and 87 acceleration. And right behind him, we have Jihad Fala, who is a cousin of the great Mark Fala, word to my boy Parker. Fala's not going to start at free safety, but you could definitely see him starting at strong safety and playing some nickel as well. And then don't expect us to kick a whole lot this year because our kicker is a 44 overall. He's not very good. His kick power is at 78, his kick accuracy is at 68. Same with our punter, Brandon Warren. No relation to the Kalispell running back. But there's our roster. And we have a tough opening to the season. We have Jackson State, then we go to Northwestern, play at home against Pittsburgh, and then we go to Virginia Tech. And then the rest of our schedule is going to be within the MAC. We moved a lot of teams from the FCS over to the FBS just to kind of have a little bit more of a balance. And hopefully all of the teams in this conference are able to build up a little bit. Hampton is going to be our main rival, who we're most likely going to play at the end of every season. But the rest of our conference has Villanova, Towson, Tennessee State, South Carolina State, Norfolk State, NCAA, Morgan State, James Madison, Hampton, Georgia Southern, and Delaware State. I also added the SWAC to Conference USA, so you'll see teams like Prairie View, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, and of course Jackson State. So now we look at recruiting, and for the first few years, I'm only going to recruit out of the DMV. That's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And once we start building up the program a bit more, I'll start to extend out to other states and just kind of spread my roots out. But I want to focus on building up the pipeline around DC. So you're going to get a lot of players from the DMV. So if you guys do want to create custom prospects that aren't guaranteed to be on the Howard roster, well, if you guys want a good chance of me recruiting you, I would make players from the states I just mentioned, DC, Maryland, Virginia, even though DC's not a state yet per se, but you know what I mean. All I'm saying is if you paid any attention to how the Meridian Dynasty was, well, you're going to see that it's not much better over here. I will say I totally forgot to put in Georgetown in the Dynasty, and I might just restart the Dynasty and add Georgetown in instead of one of the other teams that I added, but we'll have to see what happens. I'll give you guys an update in the next video, but the schedule is going to be pretty much the same thing, like, for the most part. So we'll have to see what happens. But either way, I'm excited to get this Dynasty started. It's been a while since I've really played this game. I know I played NCAA 05 pretty recently, but we're kicking things off with Jackson State because I need to play against another team that's about at my level in order to just get familiar with the roster, familiar with the players on the team, familiar with the playbook that I'm going to be using. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy the new Dynasty that we have on here with Howard. And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the sub button if you're new as well, and turn your notifications on to join the notification gang. We gonna keep this mofo rolling here on Cascree Gaming. And will we be able to build Howard into a dynasty, and will we be able to defeat Jackson State in our first game on the FBS level? Well, you're just gonna have to keep on watching to find out.